Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take just a couple minutes to respond to this roundtable discussion by way of those who identify as balance trainers, those who identify as force-free. Picture here, Ivan Balanoff falling within the balanced dog training camp. Michael Shikazio, highly esteemed in the force-free dog training community by way of aggression, okay, pictured here. And I want to talk about why this discussion really triggered off so many in the force-free dog training community. Zach George has been going on about this. Victoria Stilwell responding, okay, to this. And the statement here, such a enormous disappointment. But the question is, well, what's disappointing about this this conversation? Well, I'm going to play some of this, okay, by way of talking about remote callers. So again, this is a clip I found on social media of this discussion, but it serves as a great illustration as to what I'm talking about when there's any conversation about trying to kind of find common ground, okay, by way of this ideology. Again, talk about, by way of force-free, why force-free dog trainers, by way of what this idea represents, appear to be a lot less confused, okay, by way of what this idea represents, okay, its core tenet, based on, how this idea that trains a learning-based exercise is applied by way of motivating dogs to respond, by way of, using treats to shift focus, versus, again, I talk about what training truly represents by way of following a path of a intervention. Okay, I talk about the two core ingredients, influence and control, is defined through a intentional interaction-based method, and the role of influence by way of, intercepting, okay, a dog's state of mind as control is manifesting. So I talk about even how the word behavior is misapplied. Okay, it doesn't even belong within this framework of this way in which trainers are superficially motivating dogs to respond. And I talk about behavior. Okay, I connect dots by way of how a dog's decision-making process is governed in terms of a expressed state. Okay, I get into all of that. Now here, again, this conversation has been a tremendous triggering point for a reason. Okay, in the force-free dog training community, by those who, again, are kind of, locked down, hardwired into, twisted up in this ideology, who don't even want to hear anything to do with remote callers, corrections, right? Anything to do with, even in a lot of cases, leadership. The word, no. You'll see how this kind of, wokeism is beginning to creep into this ideology as well, because that's my point. I mean, if the truth is subjective, such as where the statement comes from, there's more than one way to train a dog. Just think about that. Then it opens the door up to just about anything, anything except the truth. Okay, and I get into all that. But again, I'm gonna play some of this video because, again, this gets into this whole thing about who's right, who's wrong. But I show as well, both these groups are wrong, and the fact that both have come into alignment with this inherently flawed idea that trains a learning-based exercise. I talk through all of it. So I'll play some of this this clip here, which I found on social media. Haven't found all of it. If someone wants to send me a link with the whole discussion, I'll comment on it further, because apparently there's some other comments that are made by, I think, Michael Shikazio. Okay, but here, this is really one of the central comments he's going to make regarding the role of the remote caller.
You said that you would sign a petition, or you mentioned something about regulations. And I'm curious which one is it, because they're not one and the same.
Yeah, that's a good question, Ivan. I think either would work, because my problem isn't with people like me that used to use e-collars that for most of what I recognize wasn't screwing up dogs. The ones I worry about are the Uncle Bob that goes to Walmart, gets some.
See right here we go. So right here, Michael Chicazio, okay, has just opened this door completely wide open, right? In terms of, the use of e-collars, okay, by way of this ideology, okay? This is not the type of thing that ideologues such as Zach George and others um, want to hear. And this is where they're actually there's a label that's thrown out during this clip about labeling some of the force-free ideologues as firebrands. Okay, so there's all sorts of trigger points in this conversation that really have upset many in the force-free dog training community, especially this one. Okay, allowing for or the acceptance of certain tools, right? This whole type of, let's all come together, which again, Ivan is one of these individuals, all right, that is trying to play all sides of the fence. But understand that's what balanced dog training represents, okay? Balanced dog trainers approach training as a learning-based exercise. They align with this ideology. They have built off of this idea by way of what's called the 4 quadrants. So again, attempting to firm up this idea of things by way of bringing influence into this inherently flawed idea. I talk about inherently flawed, okay, by way of motivating dogs to respond in the middle of a relationship problem without the 2 core ingredients I talk about, influence and control, being part of a process. And while assuming that those responses that are being generated represent that perception of dogs are changing. That's kind of like the default interpretive narrative, which is totally inherently flawed. Okay, I talk about that and how common it is. Really think about this, it happens all the time. For dog owners to be getting their certificate, dogs moving around in the dog training environment looking fantastic by way of the sit down, come and stay. Meanwhile, perception of dogs not actually changing. Okay, understand that that is part of the package deal. Okay, that goes along with this. And then, then how this layers up at that point in terms of blaming dogs. Okay, the blame shifting onto dogs as a result of this inherently flawed idea has become normalized. Okay, understand that this all is all part of it. So this whole thing about balanced dog trainers who are attempting to almost negotiate here. Okay, they're trying to find a way, okay, to be part of this, because really that's what's going on here. They're trying to find a way to frame this up so that there's some level of, okay, let's all just get along here. And this is where the statements come from. It's been out there for years. There's more than one way to train a dog. But understand that doesn't even make sense. Is there really more than one way to train a dog? It sounds like, well, truth is subjective. There's really no real standard. And think about the entire dog training world. Okay, this goes into all of it. My show is no, there actually is truth. There is a standard, and both these groups aren't even part of it. Okay, they've all fallen into this trap, and this goes right back to behavioralism. Okay, from the beginning, I wrote a book on this, and this has been on a slow boil right from that point moving forward, and now things have been escalating because they're going to understand that because this is a type of belief system, sooner or later, it comes down to balanced dog trainers being challenged, getting pushed off the fence. This is why they're losing their tools. So this is a attempt here for balanced dog trainers to try to make this work, okay, to try to negotiate this. Now, what's makes this very interesting is Michael Chicazio has really irritated, okay, many in the force-free dog training community by way of what he's done here in this roundtable discussion.
Cheap e-collar off the shelf and just takes it home. Maybe it's maybe somebody that's new to training with collars is not good at it and they don't understand behavior and recognizing emotions. So
same trap here. So you talk about behavior, okay? Understand that both these groups tie that word into by way of the superficial idea things. It doesn't even apply, okay? I talk about this on the other videos. So when you understand we got both these groups who are invested in this appearance-based idea of things, this is what you get. Okay, you get this type of a discussion where there's a type of almost negotiation trying to find a way to make all this work, but it doesn't work. Okay, that's why balanced dog trainers, they're in a catch-22 position here regardless. They're compromised. And this is why this discussion has caused so much controversy. So they look at Michael Shikazio as a type of sellout now, okay, in the force-free dog training community.
You can either do a full ban, which would remove all of those collars, just like somebody would want a full ban of guns if they've seen the fallouts and the damage done, or we can regulate it to where only those, and this would be completely up for debate on who is qualified, but those that can demonstrate, hey, we believe in this tool and we're not screwing dogs up, but let me show you the evidence that can happen. And the onus is on the folks that want to keep those tools. And either would work, in my opinion, because you wouldn't see the fallout at the same degrees as Uncle Bob buying that shock collar off the shelf. So
he's saying, so this is a compromise here, right? This is Michael Shikazio saying, well, it could be okay. This is not what the force-free dog training community wants to hear, period.
Again, that's it. It's again, my experiences and the way I see it and my unique view is to get rid of the tools because right now they're causing more problem.
So again, all over the place, right? So he's like on one hand saying, well, some sort of regulation, maybe for training. Oh, well, get rid of the tools. See, just all over the place. And this is what you get. But he said enough here to trigger off many in the force-free dog training community who are totally, just committed to their, to this idea of things at the level, right? Because understand something, I talk about why it is that, force-free dog trainers, based on being fully vested in this ideology, appear to be a lot less confused. Don't get me wrong, not in a good way, okay? But based on what this idea represents. So this issue about attempting to reconcile influence into this ideology doesn't work. Okay, and if you watch the video I put out on Jamie Penrith going on Good Morning Britain, it's a great illustration of this. Leading up to that moment where Penn was saying, well, for some dogs, right? He's trying to advocate the role of remote collars. Dog running out into the street, and then the other anti-remote collar person says, well, hold on here a second. We show through training, right? So training, right, pointing towards this process that balanced dog trainers come into agreement with, that we can show through training we get the dog to make a different choice. So right there, right, calls into question, what is the role of influence? A different choice, right? Changing the dog's focus, right? I talk about no, okay, control is manifesting, all right? It's intercepting. But they're in the trap because this is where you hear a lot of these balanced dog trainers, but you hear them out there, such as, say, Larry Crone, put a video on that, talking about rewarding bad behavior to create good behavior. But it's like, what the heck is that? See, there's that confusion. This is why balanced dog trainers have bought into what I call the big lie. What's the big lie? That trains a learn-based exercise. It is not. But this brings all the confusion in, because again, this discussion here illustrates that.
Then the goods, and trust me, I've argued all the goods. I know all those arguments. I can argue for those all day long. But
would you be up for the regulation of e-collars? Yeah. I mean, like I said, that would have to be. We'd have to see what it looks like.
So what's going on is like almost like Michael Shikazio is like, regarded as like the expert here or something, right? He's not. Okay, understand. If you identify as a force-free dog trainer or a balanced dog trainer, you're confused. Okay, you're already you're following you're aligned with this idea that's totally inherently flawed. Okay, but this is what's happening. He's regarded as kind of like the person that is in control of this discussion. Almost like he's going to be the gatekeeper but you see right here, he's all over the place. You know, on one hand, he's talking about, right, so this is an example of now he's really upset many in the force-free dog training community, as per Zach George, Victoria Stilwell, all the statements they're making. Others in the force-free dog training community, such an enormous disappointment. See, that's the issue here. It's like, understand, there's no kind of negotiation. Okay, this ideology itself, you know, the ideologues are actually right. Zach George and others, they're fully committed to what this process represents, because again, it plays into, I talk about the 4 parenting styles. What does it plays into the permissive parenting style? That's what it does. You look at the permissive parenting dynamic, you'll see it. You know, so you know, all the themes here I talk about. So again, all to say, I encourage you to watch this yourself, but you know, apply critical thinking here. You know, why all this, you know, people getting all triggered off and all the divisiveness, and you know, this is a attempt to try to find some common ground. This is the statement of there's more than one way to train a dog. Well, no, there's not. Okay, that statement itself is based on appearances. It's been going on forever. You know, there's more than one way to train a dog. This is why balanced dog trainers give, you know, force-free trainers an ideological hall pass all the time in their statements. There's a reason for all of it. But you're seeing this. This is a great illustration of, you know, of the fact that no, there is no compromise. There's just confusion. Okay? Because understand something here. When you know, throw the truth out the window, and these trainers did this years ago as individuals, it brings on confusion. It brings on divisiveness. Right? I show very clearly, no, there is a standard. There is truth. Okay? And this isn't it. Okay, this is all part and parcel of what's going on in the dog training world. So my encouragement is really apply critical thinking. Again, this is a great example of what's happened in the dog training world. Check out my website. Lots of great information as to what defines a process. Thanks for watching.